on satellite, on Freeview, on cable, on radio, on mobile, on the web and around the world. This is First at 9 on Other Derana 24/7.
Tonight, Sri Lanka Global Forum. Rear Admiral Sarath Weerasekara questions LTTE sympathizers. Tourism boosts. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe reveals plans for the tourism industry. Not good enough. Joint opposition says the Attorney General should be removed from the post. Need clarity. Government ready to discuss legal framework to permit abortions. And in international headlines, escalating tension. North Korea insists it was the US who declared war. Good evening to all our viewers across Sri Lanka and around the world. Welcome to First at 9. I'm Mahesh Johnny. Tonight we begin in Geneva. A conference facilitated on the sidelines of the 36th regular session of the United Nations Human Rights Council yesterday became a heated affair. The Global Sri Lankan Forum and LTTE sympathizers as well as other interested parties debated on the legality of war crimes allegations levelled against Sri Lanka by the Geneva Human Rights Watch.
The main address on the issue was delivered by retired Rear Admiral Sarath Weerasekara at the Forum on the Legality of War Crime Allegations levelled at Sri Lanka by the Geneva Human Rights Watch. The meeting was attended by several Sri Lankans living in various countries.
Former Human Rights Minister in 2009, he was saying only 80 to 90,000 people in Mullivaikkal. But they were over, in your report now saying 120 to 180,000 people you saved. Why the former Human Rights Minister was saying there was only 90,000 people? Why undermining that numbers?
We were fighting a war and we were suffering for the last 3 decades. They cut open the bellies of pregnant mothers, took the infant out and then cut like fish. And where were you? You never grumbled. Yeah, you never made any complaints. And about 37 novice monks aged about 10 to 12 were cut into pieces and shot and then brutally killed. Where were you? We had never heard your voice, you see. Now you are talking about Balachandra. How did you know that they were captured and killed or he was killed?
We have released the photo and he was captured alive. So it was on Channel 4.
For your information, I was.
Channel 4 is paid by LTD.
The first one is the Channel 4 video, okay? How the army was deliberately shelling them and how they were running into shelter. And the last one, then how the same thing was filmed by LTT people who are smiling. Can you see? This is Channel 4. You know, in the Nandikadal, about 3 or 4 days before Prabhakaran was killed, right? He took about 300 and as human shield. He dug trenches and they planted thousands of mines. We could have easily destroyed Prabhakaran along with the 300 innocent civil Tamil civilians. But we never did that because they were all our brothers and sisters.
David Billy then asked the Sri Lankans as to why the Sri Lankan representatives have objections to special courts endorsed by 2 commanders of the Sri Lanka Army, General Jagat Jayasuriya and Field Marshal Sarath Fonseca.
Sarath Fonseca has been the army commander. He never made this statement when he was the army commander. Now he's a politician. Now he's a defeated politician who is taken over by this present government, given a portfolio, given this promotion, just to act as they want. You see, so this is not surprising. And he's not the army commander that we had.
A traitor. That's what I would like to call him. Straightforward traitor.
May I know your interest here? What's your interest in this subject?
My interest is that I was invited to undertake a very special assignment in the office of the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka.
So many people who come here to this UN, this Human Rights Commission and talk here are paid. They are not talking because they actually feel for it.
In the meantime, leader of India's political party MDMK Waiko made a statement against Sri Lanka at the 36th regular session of the United Nations Human Rights Council.
Along with a recommendation to the UN Security Council that Sri Lanka be referred to the International Criminal Court or that an ad hoc International Criminal Tribunal be created on Sri Lanka similar to the procedure followed to assure accountability for North Korea's crimes against humanity.
Following his controversial statement, Professor Nalaka Godaheva and Anuradha Yampath, who attended the conference, questioned Waiko of his right to make such a statement against Sri Lanka. It is reported that a heated situation arose between the two parties, with Waiko agitated by the confrontation.
A report that due to the horrific level.
3 draft bills pertaining to municipal councils, urban councils and Pradesh Sabha elections were tabled in Parliament by Minister of Provincial Councils and Local Government Faisal Mustafa today. Meanwhile, the recently passed election bill resulted in a heated debate in Parliament.
The Bar Association informed us today that the manner in which the Provincial Council Act was passed was wrong. Furthermore, the Bar Association hopes to meet with the President and the Prime Minister to rectify the issue as it harms the independence of the legal system.
Bar Association එක බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන බවත් අධිකරණයේ ස්වාධීනත්වයට දැවැන්ත බලපෑමක් මේ තුලින් ඇති වෙන බවත්.
ඉතින් මම නීතිවේදී සංගමයේ සභාපතිතුමාට කතා කළා.
I spoke to the chairman of the Bar Association of Sri Lanka on Sunday and asked him if there is anything wrong. I told him that we came to an agreement following a discussion with all parties. The bill was passed after we cast our votes. We followed a process practiced in Parliament. This was not done arbitrarily. I also told him that if the association wishes to speak on the process, the President and I are willing to do so. Last time we started off our debate on allocating a quota of 25% of women in all provincial councils. Instead, we ended our debate on introducing an entirely new bill with a new electoral system. What if amendments are put forth in relation to a presidential election? What if the working committee allows amendments stating that only those who have been in parliament for over 40 years can run for elections? Is that correct? We spoke about this last week and the act was passed with a 2/3 majority. The real problem here is that ones who are speaking about this are those who have run in presidential elections twice, lost the third election while having taken away all legislative powers. What right do you have to speak about this? What I'm trying to say here is we can debate about the draft bill at the second debate where you can table all your issues. Leader of the House, as you announced in Parliament, the 20th Amendment to the Constitution will be withdrawn. Why have you not withdrawn this act?
Meanwhile, the electricity was disrupted at the Parliament chamber recently when votes were to be cast in relation to the provincial, local and Pradesh Sabha elections.
The members of the joint opposition says they are seeking grounds to remove the Attorney General from the post as a consequence of his much debated conduct in the recent lawmaking process. The leader of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, Professor G.L. Pires, expressed these views addressing a media briefing organised by the joint opposition in Colombo today.
The procedure of lawmaking is clearly outlined in the Constitution. The Parliament doesn't have the right to create laws breaching the Constitution. As they say, an innocent bill is tabled in Parliament and then sent to the Supreme Court. Yet, dangerous clauses are added in the committee stage. A dangerous tradition of lawmaking is inculcated in Parliament today. Clearly, the Attorney General has the responsibility to certify whether they are in accordance with the Constitution or not. He cannot be biased. He says these amendments comply with the Constitution. In such a backdrop, there are provisions to remove him under the Act of 2002 No. 5. We're considering legal measures against the Attorney General.
In other local stories, an anti-Rohingya protest was organised opposite a 3-storey house in which a group of Myanmar refugees were residing in. The protest organised by the Sinhala Ravaya caused heavy traffic along Gaul Road today, leading to a tense situation. Meanwhile, according to the police, the group of refugees have been taken to the Busa detention camp for their safety as per a court order.
Leader of the Sinhala Ravaya organisation, Venerable Akmimana Dayaratanathera, received a call this morning informing him that a group of Rohingya refugees were living in a 3-storey house in Mount Lavinia. Thereafter, police took measures to arrest the 31 refugees.
The leaders of this government should immediately resign. These are a group of terrorists who come to Sri Lanka without the knowledge of the government, the intelligence units and police. This calls national security into question. Our ministers have no idea. They have even sent their children to school here.
According to police media spokesperson ASP Ruwan Gunasekara, the group of refugees escaped from Myanmar by boat and had come to Colombo from Kankasanture. They have been living in Sri Lanka for 3 months without visa. The police said subsequent to receiving a court order obtained by the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, they were once again released and brought back to the house they were residing in. However, members of the Silaravya organization arrived at the location and protested against the move. The group of refugees were once again evacuated from the area by Mount Lavinia police for their safety.
Meanwhile, in Parliament today, several politicians also expressed their views over the Rohingya refugees.
Several houses in Mount Lavinia are taking care of them while giving them food and water. I would like to ask you to explain this to the House as to what action you would take in this regard. Some of the refugees who've come here from Myanmar is residing closer to the Mirihana police. Several houses in Mount Lavinia are taking care of them while giving them food and water. I would like to ask you to explain this to the House as to what action you would take in this regard.
I cannot give any information on that to this House right now. We also cannot verify the information published on several websites over the matter.
Madam Minister, you don't have to verify that information because it is true and they are taking refugees near the Mirihana police. The severity of what parliamentarian Jayantha Samaravira is saying is that these refugees have come out of the refugee camps established by the UN and they are now living as Sri Lankans. Their children are going to school, so there is a severe violation of law. So the government and you as the minister should look into this.
I believe if you provide this information to the Defence Secretary, they can take the necessary action on this.
I would like to state here that despite Sri Lanka is not part of the UN's Refugee Convention, as a civilized nation, we do have the responsibility to look after refugees who arrive in Sri Lanka.
In other local stories, Minister of Health Dr. Rajitha Senaratne says that the government is focused on high-tech medical procedures such as vitro fertilization, or commonly known as the test tube technology at the moment. Addressing an event held in Colombo today, the minister also said discussions are currently underway to create the legal framework which permits abortions during special circumstances.
There are those who misinterpret the concept of family planning, saying it is a method to control the population. What we want to do is control unplanned pregnancies and illegal abortions in the country. Current legal framework permits a mother to conduct an abortion only if her life is in danger because of her pregnancy. Doctors are requesting permission to conduct abortions of abnormal embryos, but we still don't have the legal authority to do so. However, we're discussing the matter. There is also a proposed program for issues related to infertility. Our goal is to provide necessary medical assistance and knowledge in this regard to all districts. We also expect to conduct high-tech medical procedures such as test tube technology very soon.
නලදරු උපත් ලංකාවේ ඉදිරියේදී රාජ්‍යාංශයෙන් ලබා දීමට වැඩපිළිවෙළ සකස් කිරීම අපේ ආරමුණයි.
The 58th commemoration of late Prime Minister and the founder of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, SWRD Bandaranaike, falls today. Chairman of the SLFP, President Maithripala Sirisena, today presided over a ceremony organized to commemorate the pioneer of the party.
Commemoration ceremony of late Prime Minister SWRD Bandaranaike was held at the Bandaranaike Memorial Monument in Horogolla today. Former President Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga and her sister Sunetra Bandaranaike paid floral tributes to the Bandaranaike Memorial Monument. President Maithripala Sirisena then paid his respects to the late leader. The commemoration ceremony also saw parliamentarians paying their respects to the late Prime Minister Sirimava Bandaranaike as well as late Minister Andra Bandaranaike.
Let's take a short commercial break. We'll be right back with business news.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Derana 24/7.
Welcome back on to Business News. Now, the government intends to improve the country's tourism sector by developing the southern province, which is identified as a key area towards this end. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe revealed the plan today, addressing the Future of Tourism Summit 2017, adding that the government has also called for offers from developers to establish several luxury resorts in the province.
Cinnamon Future of Tourism Summit 2017 was held coinciding the World Tourism Day to be celebrated tomorrow. The theme of this year's summit is Technology, Innovation and Authenticity. Almost 350 travel industry leaders from Sri Lanka and the region attended the summit along with global experts on tourism and hospitality technology as speakers. Addressing the summit, Minister of Tourism Development John Amaratunga explained the government's decision to launch Tourism Vision 2025 and a tourism strategic plan for 2017 to 2020.
Tourism Vision 2025 envisages Sri Lanka to be recognized as the finest island in its size in all the world. Vision 2025 provides strategic direction for the government, the industry and all stakeholders. I am also pleased to inform you that a 10-point action plan to get the destination and marketing program off the ground has now been finalized. The plan includes declaration of 2020 Visit Sri Lanka year, launch on the digital marketing campaign and a global advertising campaign in its quick succession.
Meanwhile, addressing the summit, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe revealed government's plan to develop the southern province, which will be key to the country's development process.
We have two airports, one at Katunayaka, one at Mattala. Mattala airport, certainly I think we'll find an operator by end of the year. We have two harbours, one at Colombo, one at Hambantota. That will get operational by end of the year. So in between, in the south, is one area for immediate development. Second is around Katunayaka, which can extend all the way up to Kalpitia or up to Kandy with the new Central Expressway. We are now working on starting or calling for offers from developers for 4 to 5 luxury resorts of about 500 acres each in the south. The Mattala tourist area, Galle as a tourist city. All these been planned. Another tourist resort north of Colombo at Iranavilla. Opening out Kandy City. Minister and I were discussing at least 5,000 acres to start off with.
The Premier also spoke of tapping into cruise tourism in the area.
The Indian Ocean offers potential for cruise tourism, whether it be from here to East African coast or along the Bay of Bengal. We are talking with the Indian government on some of those offers. But that means that we must have our own triangle for tourism, where the cruise liners can come in. That triangle is Colombo, Trincomalee, Hambantota. But to do so, we have to develop our human resources and then promotion. We have to plan for the tourists of 2025. We are in a new age. We have to think anew.
Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, Dr. Indrajit Kumaraswamy, acknowledges that there is a steep decline in the country's foreign remittances, which funds 80% of the trade deficit. Addressing the 6th Monetary Policy Review meeting at the Central Bank of Sri Lanka in Colombo today, the governor spoke on the pros and cons of the situation.
In its 6th Monetary Policy Review, the Central Bank of Sri Lanka decided to maintain the standing deposit facility rate and standing lending facility rate of the central bank at their current level of 7.25% and 8.75% respectively. In the external sector, earnings from exports maintained its positive growth for the 5th consecutive month in July this year. However, the cumulative trade deficit widened in July as a result of the rise in import expenditure.
As far as I can recall, it is probably the first time we have seen an absolute decline. I think the rate of growth has been slowing down now for a while. It is disturbing at one level, but it's been financing 70–80% of our trade deficit, so it has been tremendously useful. As you know, we are having a very tight labor market, so the ideal scenario would be for us to see investment, including FDI, coming into the export sector, to the tradable goods sector, and absorbing more labor. So a shift of labor from temporary migration to a growing export sector would actually, in my view, be a positive development. There's a policy-induced slowdown as well, as far as unskilled labor is concerned. We would not want to see a sharp decline in remittances, because that would be disruptive. But if we see export expansion taking place in the medium term, then some easing of remittances may actually be a good thing.
The Ministry of Finance calls for proposals to be included in the next year's budget. Budget 2018 is due to be presented in Parliament during November this year. Professionals, scholars and those who are engaged in manufacture, services and the agriculture, the three main sectors of the economy, are requested to contribute with their proposals for the budget 2018. The Minister of Finance and Mass Media, Mangala Samaravira, will present the budget in the Parliament on the 9th of November. People are invited to submit their proposals to the Ministry of Finance or to email it to info@itmd.treasury.gov.lk. That is info@itmd.treasury.gov.lk before the 15th of October. Sri Lankan shares rose today for the first time in 4 sessions, rebounding from a one-week closing low as investors picked up banking and beverages stocks after the central bank held the policy rate steady. The Colombo Stock Exchange ended 0.12% higher at 6,419, edging up from its lowest close since 18th of September hit yesterday. We now have the daily market update with RM Sivanandan from the Colombo Stock Exchange.
The market capitalization at the end of the day was 2,911.24 billion rupees. Today there were 4 crossings and the crossing turnover was 164.46 million rupees. Today's foreign purchases was 103.23 million rupees and the foreign sales was 157.41 million rupees.
You are watching Sri Lanka's trusted news brand, Derana 24/7.
Welcome back everyone on to international news. Escalating the rhetoric between North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and US President Donald Trump, North Korean Foreign Minister Ri Yong-ho says the world should remember that it was the US who declared war first. The North Korean minister expressed these views in relation to a statement posted by President Donald Trump via Twitter last Sunday.
Following the speech delivered by North Korean Foreign Minister Ri Yong-ho at the 72nd UN General Assembly, US President Donald Trump tweeted suggesting North Korea will not be around much longer. The North Korean Foreign Minister yesterday responded to President Trump's tweet.
All the member states participating in the United Nations General Assembly and the whole world should remember that it was the US who first declared war on our country. Since the United States declared war on us, we will have every right to take countermeasures, including the right to shoot down United States strategic bombers, even when they're not inside the airspace border of our country.
However, the allegations were denied by the White House.
We've not declared war on North Korea, and frankly, the suggestion of that is absurd. It's never appropriate for a country to shoot down another country's aircraft when it's over international waters.
Meanwhile, the spokesman of the US Secretary General warned that the rhetoric could spiral out of control.
When you have the rise of tension, the rise of rhetoric, so does the risk of miscalculations. Fiery talk can lead to fatal misunderstandings.
3 Israeli guards were killed by a Palestinian gunman today in an attack near a Jewish settlement in the occupied West Bank. A 37-year-old gunman who injured a 4th Israeli guard was shot dead by the police.
Israeli police say the gunman opened fire at security forces near the back entrance of the Har Adar settlement, which opens daily to allow the entry of Palestinians for work purposes. As per Israeli Internal Security Agency, the gunman had an Israeli permit to work in Jewish settlements along the boundary of the West Bank. No group has claimed the responsibility of the attack as yet. Gaza-based Palestinian militant organizations, however, praised the attack.
You are watching Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Derana 24/7.
On to sports now. International Cricket Council confirmed today that the changes made to the match regulations will be effective from the 28th of this month. The rules change will come into play for the upcoming Test series between South Africa and Bangladesh and Pakistan and Sri Lanka.
Bats to be banned in Test.
The ongoing one-day international series between India and Australia will be the final matches played under the existing regulations. As confirmed by the ICC, the new conditions will come into effect from the end of this month and carry amendments including bat sizes, player send-offs and the decision review system.
A major one that hopefully we don't see much of is the ability for umpires to send a player from the field for the rest of the match for serious misconduct. It will only be for what are known as level 4 offences, which is the most serious misconduct such as violence on the field of play. And the ones that the fans will probably see most frequently are regarding a couple of changes to the decision review system, the DRS. Teams will no longer lose one of their reviews if an LBW review comes back unchanged, but only as a result of an umpire's call. Another one is in the way runouts can be judged. So if a batsman is diving, trying to make his or her ground, and the bat bounces after making contact with the ground behind the crease, then the batsman will no longer be out. It used to have to, the bat had to remain grounded, but now if the bat loses contact after a batsman's been running or diving back into the crease, then the batsman will no longer be out.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel, Derana 24/7.
Katharina Chang is at the Weather Centre with tomorrow's weather.
A very good evening and welcome to the Weather Centre. Now we can expect wet weather to continue over the southwest region over the next 24 hours. Now the central and eastern region of the island can expect much warmer temperatures ranging between 20 and 35 degrees Celsius forecast to prevail over the course of tomorrow. Meanwhile, Jaffna, Trincomalee and Vaunia will experience some heavy rains as well as the low pressure zone is continue to hover over the region. Thunder showers can be expected in Batticaloa as well as Colombo, Galle and Matra. It's now time to take a look at your city-by-city forecast.
And that is a part of your world tonight right here on Derana 24/7. I'm Mahesh Johnny, and First at 9 will return tomorrow with the very latest. Be sure to join us then. And before we wrap things up for tonight, we like to show you some beautifully captured visuals of our paradise island. These were documented over a period of 6 months by one of Sri Lanka's young photographers, S. Pradeep Gamage. Thank you very much for joining us. Good night.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana, 24/7.